Hello, John again on Tuesday, I think, 13th, and I'm in Tuam, County Galway, which is North County Galway, and I just left Gart 40 minutes ago, and the reason going into Gart was to see the trench graves at the Workhouse graveyard, and my reason for coming to Tuam is that, if I can remember how to get there, the former workhouse in Tuam was knocked and built over as housing estates, and colleagues of mine were working on the sewage scheme here in the town 2010, 2011, can't remember exactly. Finn Delaney was the project manager, and they were monitoring trenching out by the old workhouse, and they found a number of burials, mid-19th century burials. It was in the corner of the workhouse, the back corner, the most private, discreet part of the workhouse, and they excavated, I'm not sure, maybe 30 different, maybe mid-40s, different bodies. They were in a series of graves, very rarely single graves. It was mostly 2 or 3 coffins per grave. The coffins didn't survive, but the coffin nails did, which is a common enough feature in 19th century burials. And what's interesting is that for all the graveyards we've gone to so far, there's been a largely rural distribution. Oh no, I'm alright here, I don't need to indicate. Whereas here we're very much in an urban context. The road forks here. If we went left, we'd be going to the former front entrance to the workhouse, whereas now by going right we're going out to Corfin Road, and it's down here then all those 1940s and then 1970s housing estates that are built on the site of the workhouse. And just in passing, right here on the right is the cemetery, Tuam Cemetery. If you go behind the lodge there, there's Pauper's graves. Oh, and here, I'll take him now. That wall there on the left, where am I? There, that wall. That's the back wall of the workhouse. So that workhouse wall ran straight down there towards those houses. And this back corner where that house is where was inside the workhouse property. And then here, just here somewhere now, under the tarmac, I think is where Finn and the team found the human skeletal remains, found the burials. And now we're gone into the workhouse site proper. And it's a very interesting site. 1970s housing estate. And that's the road up to the front road. Where do I go if I go down here? Am I wrong or am I right? Have I missed the turn down? No, I think the turn down is here. This brings you in the back of the, yeah, this is. So this wall here, I think is, there's another sad story about that there. That wall is where there was a civil war, 1922, was it 1921, execution up against that wall there, I think. That's what that is. So if the famine, we drove over coming in the entrance there, those burials, we didn't get coins in those burials, so the best Finn could do in his report was say, okay, it looks to us like it's 1840s. The workhouse here was ready around about 1841, but for some reason didn't open until about 46, May 46. So she opened right into the heart of the famine, and We think they were local historians have done the research, and they found 5 or 6 graveyards all in this parish that were used for famine burials, including a new one that was used. But also they buried the famine dead in the back, very backmost corner of the graveyard, and that corner ran out and would have re-emerged just there where I'm showing now. And then I'm not going to go into it now, but to the left, over yonder, down in that area there, and further to the left is where the Tuam mother and baby home burials were. That's too important to actually brush over lightly. But if we look here, the gentlemen who were shot up against that wall were buried somewhere here on the site, and they were exhumed then afterwards, and I think it was brought to Athlone barracks. But where were those men buried? I think they were probably buried down towards those houses down there beyond. Perhaps a continuation of the workhouse burial ground, which now has houses built up on top of it. And the people who live here know they have, because when they're digging their gardens, I'm told, when the excavation crew were outside, they were told, oh, occasionally we come across human bones. So that's what happens. Ireland, such a poor country. Even in the 70s, when I was growing up, a new housing estate like this was building happy homes for lots of people. Unfortunately, they're built on a burial ground. And you've seen over the last few weeks that as we look at these things, there's lots of strange handlings of burial grounds. There's lots of very decent handlings as well. And I suppose what I'm at is trying to just balance all of that and try and understand us more by looking at how we treat our burial grounds. Okay, so here we are. This is urban now. It wasn't urban when it was a workhouse, and the burial ground beyond, we'll pass it out now again, is of interest, because in quite a small trench, Finn and Dave and the team all got they got a lot of burials. Will I get out here now? I don't know. Can I go to the other one? It looks to me like I just make it, but it might risk scratching somebody. Just go easy back here now. I don't know, I have any choice. Can I go over there? Back lane back there now behind us that takes you down, and in fact you drive over the old graveyard down there, the mother and baby home. Alright, so we're getting out. Alright, lovely little place. I know, sad, the workhouse and then the mother and baby home, but these houses, I'd say, have had a lot of happy families in them. So I'll go left here again. And down here now by the stop sign, I suspect all this area now between us and the stop sign, there's burials all under here. Tarmac has been relaid. You used to be able to see from the tarmac where the excavation was by Finn and Co. Cemetery in here. Is the gate open? It's hardly open. It's gone 5, is it? Yeah. We'll go in and have a look. I'm trying to remember. Wow. Where was it? My memory has gone bad now. There was the Pauper section of the graveyard here. What does that mean in Ireland? What that means is that you can get buried there, but you can't here. This is it, is it? That you can get a grave there, but you can't own the grave, and that when the family is burying a family member, that they pay for the grave to be opened and closed. So the grave digger is paid, but they don't actually buy the plot of land. They don't buy the grave as such. And there in front of us now, if my memory is right, that's the pauper section here. There were rules in it for the reuse of paupers' graves, but I know from Professor Julie Rugg's work over in England that in a lot of cases paupers' graves weren't reused. That once a family went in there, they almost had a claim on it. So we're in a cemetery here now proper. It's a local authority cemetery. And I suppose I've been going to kind of unusual places looking for camperanda, but this is where to go as well. If we come into a cemetery like this, and if you look at the graves, try and spot the graves, the unmarked graves, they're in places like this. Now, Brian Scannell in Sligo is a fantastic man to give a tour on that. And if you go down to the pauper section in Sligo Old Cemetery, it's the graves, or you could fully see the graves. They haven't been backfilled since they were people were buried in them. So it's kind of a fantastic place to learn. Whereas I wonder, have these been backfilled regularly? But there's graves in there. Those houses over, where are they? Over there. That's over where the workhouse was, and the mother and baby home, and that's where the burials are there. And those workhouse burials are over there. This cemetery didn't open until something like 20 years after the famine. But it's kind of an interesting example. Alright, so I've done a few famine related burial grounds today. I'm still on the road, so I'll keep going now to head north, and see you all again some other time. Slán.